Alrighty, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Service Call by NexTech Advisors. We're really excited for this one today. Jordan, I think you can agree. We have Stacie Feller from KangaRoof down in Austin, Texas,
Yep,
correct?
that's right.
Thanks for joining us, Stacie.
hmm Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're excited. I know we've talked a little bit about KangaRoof, but we're excited to hear about your story. It's a pretty unique one. I love how you've really partnered with your husband, and we're going to hear a little
hmm
bit about that.
Yep.
Again, the focus of these calls and of this podcast is to really help other owners, home services professionals adopt and understand how to continue to grow. Home services professionals love the trade; they're great at the trade, but we also have to run businesses. We have to grow businesses. So I think you're going to provide a phenomenal context and advice. We're excited to have you. So first off, we'll just start. Walk us through your story, your origin with your husband, and how you kind of evolved over the last few years.
Yeah, well, my husband and I, we've been married now 13 years. But when he was in college years and years ago, he roofed his way through college and got pretty good at it. But he was going to school to be a construction engineer. So when he graduated, he was up in Iowa. He went to Iowa State. When he graduated, he had kind of figured out what people thought about roofers. And people don't have a really high opinion of them. And now he was an engineer. So he felt, you know what, now I don't have to do this roofing stuff anymore. I can go be an engineer. So he jokingly says that he took like a 50% pay cut and went to be an engineer as opposed to having his own business roofing. But so he did that for a few years and built prisons, went to work for big construction companies that would build prisons. And I don't know if you know this, but when you build a prison, you actually move there for a few years while it's being built, and
Okay.
then when it finishes up, you move to the next one because I mean it's you're not building prisons all the time. And so he did that a couple of times, and but he really is a entrepreneur at heart. And so he decided he really wanted to be back on his own, and a friend of his said, "Hey, you ought to think about going. If you're going to go think about going back on your own, you ought to do it in or somewhere where the economy is booming." And at that time, that was in the I think early 2000s. And he said, Austin, Texas is really where it is, where you need to be. So he packed up and moved his wife at the time and kid to Austin, Texas. And he'll tell you, he put in a $300 ad in the Austin American Statesman, but he still thought he was too good to be a roofer. So he was a general contractor. And but the problem is he loves doing the work. And so the business grew, but he really couldn't get himself out of doing the work itself to actually grow the business. So after a divorce, he decided that he really just needed a little time down, and I'm not telling you anything he wouldn't tell you. He was broke, and in 2013, a hailstorm hit Marble Falls or area around here, which is where his parents were living. And he called his parents up and he said, "Hey, can I just come do your roof for the insurance money?" Because he'd never worked with insurance before, but he knew insurance paid for it. And he said, "Yeah." His dad said, "Yeah, sure, come on." And 2 days later, he showed up, and his dad had a list of 13 other neighbors that wanted him to do his roof. And for someone who's broke, and now and that was back in the time when they were paying overhead and profit. These were, 50 square, 60 square roofs. And him being a general contractor, he was able to do the entire claim. And he decided at that time he could actually be a good roofer and treat people well and try to help change the industry kind of one customer at a time. So
Love it.
he and I met in Devon. And at the time I was widowed, he was divorced, and I worked for an insurance company. 20 years before, I spent 20 years in the insurance carrier side of the business, the workers' comp, and I did some general liability previously with an insurance carrier. And so my background is 100% corporate. And when we got married, I was like, he was a one man show. And literally, he'll tell you he was sitting by the pool all day long. His phone number was his company. And when somebody would call, he would jump in his truck, change clothes, go take care of the repair. If it was a repair he could do, he would do it right then and knock it out. If it was a replacement, he would quote it, sign it, go back to the pool, and that night he would order materials, get the crew lined up, and go put the roof on the next day.
Love it.
And
Amazing.
as a single man, he had custody of both of his children. If he could do 3 roofs a month, he was living pretty good. And so then he meets me and I'm like, hey, you can't be doing this forever. You're going to have to, this is a job. This isn't and he was like, yeah, but I don't like managing people. And it's like, well, I do that all day long. I can help you with that. By the time his sister came and worked for us, and his sister had worked crews with him, and she had actually roofed with him back in college. And the three of us in 2012 decided to grow the company. And we started growing slowly. And that's how I got into the roofing business, is I married into it. And we, the, my sister-in-law, Amy, who is in New Braunfels, which is just about an hour and a half from us, she has her own company called Roofer Chicks. If you've ever heard of Roofer Chicks, that's my sister-in-law. And but her and Scott and I, we used to have lunches not far from my corporate office so that I could take my lunch hour, and we would have business meetings and figure out, how do we make the phone ring? How do we make the phone ring? And just slowly started growing from there. So that's how I got into it. Certainly
That's a
never
really,
ever anticipated being in the roofing business.
yeah, you went from insurance to roofing. It's a little bit of a jump. That's awesome though.
It is a jump. So, but in 2016, the company grown large enough that it could afford both Scott and I. And about that time, Amy had grown the New Braunfels branch of it to be enough to support her, so she wouldn't have to drive in all the time. So we spun her off to her own company that she owns now, Roofer Chicks. And I came to work full time with Scott in 2016. And then in 2017, he was really tired of the roofing business, and I had really started to put a lot of processes in place. And so he was like, Stacie, I've been tired of this. I've been doing it forever. I think I want to go start an HVAC company. And I was like, okay. I mean, by this point, I'm running the roofing company. And so, so he took off and bought a small HVAC company. And now we have Koala Cooling and Plumbing that he runs.
Koala Cooling and
Amazing.
Yeah.
KangaRoof. I love it.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
That's such a, it's such an awesome story. And you mentioned something about your husband who he was he loved doing the job. He liked operating the bit, or he liked operating. He didn't like
Yep.
running the business. That wasn't
Yep.
his thing. We run into
Yep.
that a lot in this industry where there's really really good operators, right? They're really good at servicing. They're really good at doing the trade. They don't love running the business. That's not their forte. They want to be on the job site. And so really cool that he was able to bring in his counterpart and his partner who knows corporate, who knows systems, to start to implement. And that sounds like that was ultimately what helped take this to the next level. And now we have two businesses. That's
Yep.
phenomenal.
If you're enjoying this episode of the Service Call so far, be sure to like and subscribe to stay tuned. Now back to the show.
That's one of the things I actually, when I talk to other roofers, one of the things I think that makes us different is that I am not a roofer. I mean, I will tell you, my mother-in-law likes to joke that, oh my gosh, I have two female roofers in my company. I'm like, no, 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 no. My sister-in-law is a roofer. She's up on the roof. She is installing. She is teaching her crews how to do stuff. She is phenomenal. I own a roofing company.
Yep.
That's different. And because I don't
Yep.
want to take anything away from my sister-in-law who actually does that work. I can't do that. I have the experts that I call on to help me in the technical areas. But what I tell everybody here that works for me here is, we are a business. We happen to sell roofs.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Spot
it.
on.
Hey, I'm with you, Stacie. I don't want to get on top of a roof either.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now I've been on some, not many, but I have been on some. And I do go to the classes. I do know a lot about roofing. Okay, I do. But am I out there with a nail gun? No, I'm not.
Yep.
But I've got folks that are, and my husband that is my technical expert. Normally, about 5 times a year, I call him out and ask him to go. If it's a leak that we just cannot, this year I had one that we sent 3 different people out to detect this leak and we couldn't find it. He gets up there and in 30 seconds finds it. It's experience. And so, yeah,
I love that that little anecdote of,
yeah,
we are a roofing business. We're a business. We just happen to sell roofs.
that's
Doesn't
right.
matter if it's your plumbing, electrical, HVAC. We are a business. We happen to
Yes,
sell HVAC systems or services, right?
that's right.
I'm curious, what did that shift? Because that was a big shift in the business, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
a roofer. I'm sitting
Yep.
by the pool. I'm going to be a roofer. I'm going to go help fix or repair roofs. What was the difference in saying, no, we need to operate like a business? I'm sure there was some struggle, there was some tension. What was the biggest step for you, and what types of systems did you start to implement?
Well, probably the first one, and we still laugh about this a lot because it's the total difference in personalities he and I have, is that when I came to work with him in 2016, before I took over in 2017, we get towards the end of 2016, and I said, okay, we got to start talking about where's your budget for next year. He looks at me, he says, I don't need no stinking budget. He said, Stacie, the way we operate here is we sell everything we can that comes in the door. So we're going to sell the most that we can do. We're going to sell it for the what we can sell it for, and we're going to install it for the least that it's going to cost us. I was like, that's great, but how many do we need to sell? Doesn't matter how many we need to sell. We're going to try every single one. Which he's come around to my way now, because now that, I mean, I have a full budget that we look at and we go, okay, we got to hit these numbers at this time. And if we don't hit it by this time, then we need to adjust these numbers here. And we can't spend this much on advertising if we hit it. So that was a big shift in his head, which has helped a lot. But it's also, I've noticed it helps me attract the type of employees that I want. I want folks. Yes, do we need to know the roofing business? Absolutely. I will tell you that my folks are some of the best roofers that we have. Okay. But there has to be a layer in there of business people. There has to be somebody who's watching your advertising spend. There's got to be somebody on there who is watching your accounting. There's got to be somebody who is negotiating with suppliers. And that's something that I found was really different when I first came on, especially one being a woman in this industry.
Sure.
And I negotiate differently with suppliers. For a lot of suppliers want to give you free stuff, want to give you a trip, want to give you this, want to give you that. And while I appreciate the friendship, at the end of the day, I have a Excel workbook that my production person has. They put in what the job materials are, and it tells them where to order from based on what the pricing is.
Nice.
There's no carrot dangling out. Well, you got to order this many millions to get this here. Mm-hmm. No, you got to give me the best price that I can get.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and so that took quite a bit of time to kind of get some folks used to that, and kind of get on that rhythm.
Yeah. Again, we're a business. We just happen to sell roofs.
That's right.
I think that's the theme of this meeting today.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you've had a great scaling story, right? You've been able to scale really well and successfully. Every company hits growth plateaus, right?
Yep.
I'm curious, a plateau you've seen, the last 5 years, or how and then some things or some changes, innovation that you've been able to implement that's helped you get past those.
Well, we're kind of in one right now. So it's one of the things that we're working through, because the big thing with roofing is, in a lot of other businesses and in the home services businesses, is there are things that are dependent on weather dependent. Our HVAC business, we are dependent on 100-degree weathers, 100-degree days in summertime. Roofing business, our business spikes whenever we have a hailstorm. And so the last couple of years, we've not had a lot of big storms. We had just really small ones. And so we have had to pivot to work more on the retail side of things. When we're hit those plateaus, that's one of the things I start looking at and go, are the products we're offering the products customers want? Because at the end of the day, one thing I tell, especially my sales staff all the time, is somebody's buying a roof today. Somebody is. Why aren't they buying from us? Okay. And so I don't tell me, oh, there's no business out there. Oh, the phone's not ringing. Oh, somebody's buying a roof today. Why isn't it from us? That's what we have to look at. And so when we hit those plateaus, that's when I step back and look at, like, for now, what's going on? Well, we've seen insurance in the insurance game. Insurances aren't buying as many roofs as they used to. The deductibles have skyrocketed, so people can't afford. If they've got a $400,000 house and a 2% deductible, that's $8,000 that they've got to come up with. And honestly, people don't have that nowadays. And so, what can we do to combat that? What kind of financing are we offering? Are we leading with financing? Are we talking about that? One of the programs that we've rolled out now is a buy now and pay later. Take that insurance check that insurance company gives you, you keep it, and you just finance the whole roof and pay $300 a month.
Sweet.
Okay. And so that's one way to handle it. So we have to take a look at, during those plateaus, are we still offering what customers are wanting?
Love it. It's interesting too. Like, I think some business owners are afraid to adapt because what's worked for the past 10 years has worked. And it's scary to go and step into new avenues where there may be a little more risk, or it's just something that we haven't done yet. Financing options, it's huge in the HVAC space now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's massive, and people need to get creative, and you need to match that with the customer expectation and customer changes, right?
Yes.
And market. I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious, in your perspective, we've talked to some businesses where when the direct to consumer side is slow, they start to amp up their channel partners, or say builder partnerships. Is that an avenue of focus for your team?
Not for us. We are a replacement only. I don't do any new construction.
Okay.
And so a new construction is just not an area that we wanted to get in, and we don't do commercial. So we do churches, which is considered commercial, but to me, I just look at them as they're just large houses.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so for us, we don't really go that route,
Mm,
where we more go of what, from a partnership standpoint, what we are starting to lean more on now is our sister company,
mm,
because we have an HVAC and plumbing, which has a tremendous amount of service agreements. And
mm,
so we can actually leverage those customers and say, hey, we know you're a Koala Club member, and so we'll offer you a free roof inspection. And so I've already got them in with my Koala Club membership. They know who's got an IR. They trust us already, so it kind of gets us in the door. And I've actually talked to several other several other roofing companies that are not in my area here, and recommended, go find you a small HVAC company,
yep.
go find you a small plumbing company, and y'all get together and say, hey, I will help introduce you to my club
Hmm.
members. If you will introduce me to your club members, first thing you have to do is you better make sure that you have the same values. Because my guys know whenever they go out on a Koala Club member that that's our sister company. We're going out there to help that customer. So don't come at it from a hard sale or anything else, which we don't do anyway. But that's one of the things that I've recommended to several of the roofers. Go find you somebody else in the trades that you can partner up with.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it provides such a warm introduction. Referrals is something we
Oh,
talk about a lot. Referrals, or, channel partners, affiliates like that. You have a great position because you have a sister company that has
mm-hmm.
repetitive business, right? The
Yep.
difficulty for roofing is you're not getting the same customer back in 2 years. Hopefully not, unless there's a big storm. But a lot of times you need to have other avenues to get customers and warm introductions. I think that's a
Yep.
phenomenal approach. It's great.
Yep, absolutely. And there are so many. What I've found in people in the trades is, especially if you operate somewhat the same, if you want a professional, if you offer
Hmm.
a professional product, you run your company as a business. There are good ones out there that you can partner with, that they would be happy to recommend you. I mean, they would be happy because you're doing the same thing for them. You're going, hey, all my roofing companies, while I'm out there, I'll mention, if you need an HVAC tune-up, if you need somebody just to come do an inspection, I got a guy for you.
And it adds a layer of reliability and
Yeah,
professionalism too, that you have other good quality brands behind you that you've partnered with too. I think
yep,
that's phenomenal.
absolutely.
You mentioned something there, and this is something we talk about a lot, is the having a professionalism and a brand that establishes trust and customer experience, and customer first mindset. That has had to shift, I believe, in this industry and in the trades, where customers have changed. We expect personalization. We expect to be treated well and honestly. How has your brand established that in your area? How have you continued to evolve your brand with customer expectations changing?
There's a couple of things that I've done, and I would love to say I did them intentionally for that, but it's really, as I've looked back, I've gone, this is a product of what we did. And number one is, I am a firm believer. I grew up with parents that were in the small business, and my dad always taught us, you know, you trust your employees, they do a great job, but at the end of the day, if there's an issue, the customer wants to hear from you. Okay, it's just the way it is. And so on when a customer calls in here, when they get their appointment confirmation email back, at the end of that email, it says, if that email is from me, but it says, if you have any questions or concerns, here is my phone number and my email. You can call me anytime. And it rings right here to my cell phone. So my cell phone, and it goes out on multiple emails throughout the process. If you've got an issue, call me. come see me. We have an office. Come see me. I'm right here. I'm here all the time. And so we don't hide from it. So Scott and I put our face and our phone number and our heart really out on our brand that if you need us, we are here. I know there's a lot of roofers that work out of their house. Nothing wrong with that. That's where a lot of folks start. It's where Scott started. Um, but one of the things that we talk about is if you've got a dispute with your roofer, do you want to go to their house? You really want to go knock on their door and walk in and sit at their kitchen table?
Right.
No, come to my office. Come see me. Or call me and I'll come see you. So that's one thing that we have done that I think has helped us a lot, that a lot of customers have said they appreciate that. They can get a hold of me if they have
Love it.
any issues.
I love it.
Number two is, and it's really what fuels me, is I have a heart for my employees. One thing I learned about this business and in the trades in general, and this is not disparaging, but there's a lot of crappy bosses out there. Okay, there is a lot of degrading, greedy bosses, especially in the roofing business. What they see is the salespeople start making a lot of money, and the boss goes, "Wait, you don't need to make that much money. I'm going to change your commission plan." You know, and what fulfills Scott and I actually is being able to see people's lives change in this industry, because the people that work in this industry are just good, hardworking people. And so we have almost no turnover. I think my newest employee is like 3 years since
Wow.
we've been here. And I mean, most of them have been with me for a long time. And a lot of them I'll tell you, and I don't say this lightly, but they take a bullet for me because I take care of them. They are part of my family. If you're going through something difficult in your home life, then you're going through something difficult in your work life, and we're going to help take care of you. You know, one of the things we do is we have a employee has a $500 mental health fund, what I call it. And if you need, whether it be a little bit of time off, you need to go see a therapist, you need help with this or whatever, we'll pay the first $500 of it. No questions asked. I don't need to know anything. I don't know what's going on. I just know if you need something and $500 helps you out, here it is. Go.
I love it.
Do it.
Amazing.
But that's who we are. A nice benefit of that is that comes across when my folks are out talking to customers.
Spot
I mean,
on.
I had one guy tell me, one customer tell me that in our sales book, you know, we have a book like everybody else has got their books here that we go out that, you know, when he talks to customers, you know, he turns to the page that's got my picture on it and he'll say, you know, if you really want to know that she's the boss and she's the one who I'm working for and I'll do anything she needs me to do, you know, and so that comes across. If you genuinely care about your employees and you take care of them, that comes across to the customers that they're trying to serve. And that just helps you gain more customers.
Spot on. I agree fully.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the comparison of like the McDonald's versus the In-N-Out experience. I don't know if you've ever eaten an In-N-Out burger.
Yes.
It's In-N-Out. They were, you know, their investors and their people said, "You guys are crazy for paying your people so much money." They said, "We're not here to just hire employees. We're here to build careers and build a family."
Yes.
And you can feel it when you go in the service you get. It's so different. And the important thing is, you know, when you have loyal, dependable employees in a team, in a family environment, they are going to go, like you said, they're going to go make the customer feel that way. And it's a level of trust, and it helps that sells more than good price and good product. It's that feel of the brand and the feel of they're going to be taken care of. And I think too, we people forget this a lot in the trades is you're stepping foot into people's homes.
Yeah.
And people are, you know, I'm very careful. You know, I have kids. We want to be very careful about who you have in your home. And we're exposing our home to you. We want to feel trust, and we want to feel that we're getting taken care of.
Yep. Absolutely. And another side benefit to that is my team protects me. I mean, I should be honest with you. If they are, I've had a couple of the guys come to me before and gone, I walked away from this one because I could just tell it was going to be a nightmare and they were going to try to screw us over on something. They were going to, you know, I just got this icky feeling that it was, you know, that's money he could have sold and put in his pocket. But he knew it was going to cause hardship on the company just from the way, you know, you have these interactions with people who you just know are kind of out to, you know,
Sure.
they talk about the last 3 home services companies they sued. and they talk, and it's kind of like we just don't want to get involved in that. So they actually protect us too because they want to make sure not to kill the golden goose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And they're,
Yeah.
they're home. They have loyalty to you. That's
Yep.
phenomenal. We
Yep.
mentioned a little bit kind of customer changes, and we have to evolve and make sure staying in tune with what the customers need and expect. Shifting gears a little bit more to technology and communication with customers, we've seen a big shift, right, in how we want to communicate with our friends and family, let
Hmm.
alone businesses that we're doing, that we
Yep.
need. How are you communicating with your customers today? How are you attracting customers? Is it all digital? Are you guys still doing phone calls? What's your process there?
So all of our customers 100% come to us. So we don't do any door knocking. So they're 100% inbound. However, we do have a healthy marketing budget, and so we do a lot of digital stuff. A tremendous That's kind of where things are now. And
Hmm.
so I've got somebody who is totally dedicated to our digital marketing side of things. I have an inside marketing manager who manages all of it, and it's a full-time job. But now he does it for both companies, both KangaRoof and Koala Cooling. So we do a tremendous amount on that. We also, with regard to communicating with customers, we have found we've been through it enough years to kind of figure out what's a good pace of updating customers. And so we have a lot of automation that goes in from our CRM to let customers know where things are. Because that's where we found before where we would get the most frustration for customers if they just didn't know it. And so one of the things we're building now, and I'm very excited to launch it next year, is a portal for our customers. So I kind of almost think of it as, like when you order a pizza from Domino's and you see the tracking as to where
Yep.
you are in the process. I want something where customers can log in if they need to easily. I don't want to make it difficult. I don't want to have them have to download an app and keep the app on their phone. No, just log in, see where things are at. If you want to download your contract, if you want to make a payment, if you want to just make it very simple so that customers can kind of get the communication the way they want to get it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stacey, I love that. From a customer perspective, like that's what you want. You want to be able to get those updates. Talk to us a little bit though, like because customers are always wanting to know what does that do for you guys from an efficiency standpoint as a business, from that communication and what that might alleviate for you guys.
Well, for one thing, what it alleviates us for somewhat is that we have tracking of knowing what we've told customers. So it regardless of how good we are, at some point you do need a little bit of CYA. And so that's one thing is we make sure that we've got the information out to the customers. It does also, we notice is if we're gonna have a difficult customer or if we've got a customer who is very particular about something, we hear back from those people quicker. And so
Mhm.
that kind of cues my production team a little bit almost of who do we want to put a superintendent on for that one? Because our superintendents, they're all fantastic, but they all have different personalities. And
Mhm.
so it kind of helps us decide how we're going to schedule what crew is going to be out there. Do I want the crew that's going to be there at 6:30 in the morning, or would I want the crew that's going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning? And we're able to kind of make some of those decisions based on that to make our operations a little bit more efficient.
I
So,
love it.
yeah,
And it's personalizing the experience for the customer too. And that's
totally.
difficult to do at scale. But when you
Hmm.
have the right systems in place, it makes it a lot easier. I'm curious, it sounds like you have a CRM tool. If you don't mind me asking, what CRM solution are you using?
So we use Job Nimbus.
Okay.
And so we've been, I brag on this quite a bit. I'm not sure if it's something to brag on or not, but we are Job Nimbus's oldest cucustomer.
We
I
love that
started with
brag.
them.
That's a
We were
great brag.
originally customer number 8. And
Wow.
so 1 through 7 is gone. So I'm like their oldest one there. And we're actually going to be we're moving over to their new platform because when you're customer number 8 and they grew as fast as they grew, we weren't able to keep up with the changes. So this year we just said, you know what, we just need to stop, take a break, and take that leap and take
Yep.
on all the changes that they've done and roll out. So we use Job Nimbus and I've been very, very happy with them.
Phenomenal. Yeah, and that's
Yep.
a big question we get asked a lot outside of the podcast call is what pieces of technology do we need? And I think it's surprising to some home services owners and operators is technology. It seems like they're a slave to it, but when you use it the correct way, it helps them turn into the business owner that they need to, but they don't know how to, they don't understand technology. Not everybody comes from a technology background like me or a
Totally.
business background like you. And so
Yep.
it's about finding the right tools that make your job easier so that the tech's working for you and not the other way around. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. I'm curious, with Job Nimbus, a lot of our owners too who have implemented technology, what they're finding is they have a lot of different systems they're using, whether it's their accounting tools, their scheduling tools, their CRMs, and they're not really talking to each other. It's not really cohesive from an operation perspective. And so, it creates more manual, tedious, repetitive work. I'm curious if you've seen that in implementing new technology or how you've overcome that as well.
We really haven't seen a lot of that because I've chosen to stick with what integrates with Job Nimbus.
Nice.
I just kind of made that decision based on the fact that I didn't want a whole bunch of outside stuff that created a
Right.
whole bunch of manual stuff. So it's almost like I might be missing something out there, but what I would get out of that wouldn't overcome the hurdles of getting it in the system.
Spot on.
And so, yeah, does that mean that some things are not available to me? Yeah, it does. My hope is maybe Job Nimbus would bring some of those things along. I really can't think of anything right now
Sure.
that we do. The difficulty that I found with roofing, the biggest area, because one of your questions I know talks about the efficiencies with what technology efficiencies could bring you, is scheduling. I tried to build something a couple of years ago with an actuary friend of mine, with regard to scheduling roofing salespeople to go out and look at a job and then go to schedule the actual install, because there's so many pieces that have to be considered. I mean, on an install only, I've got to consider what date can the materials be dropped off? What date does the customer want the install to happen? What date is the crew available that needs to do that type of house? Because if
Yeah.
it's a specialty thing, I got to have a specialty crew to go do that. And then what superintendent do I want on that job? Where is it located so that I could potentially have my one superintendent handle two jobs? So there's so many factors in that. That's kind of the biggest manual piece that we're still managing, that I've yet to be able to find a good technology piece for. But with AI coming out, I think that won't be far before that is handled.
It is so funny you said that, because a lot of the conversations we have is we need to be able to schedule our techs more efficiently. We need to make sure that whether it's an HVAC company or a truck, we need to make sure that that truck has the right equipment for that type of job and the right technician, so that our first time fix rate and our scheduling is up to date, and I don't want to have to deal with it anymore.
Yep.
So it's a common problem in the space. And obviously we talked about AI before we got on the call a couple weeks ago. I'm curious, AI, like you said, it's here. It is no longer a nice to have. We can have it. We can access it. Where do we implement it? I know you're a part of some groups and you've been talking about AI. Curious your thoughts on it, what you're learning about it, and what you're thinking about it in application to KangaRoof.
Well, I totally agree with you. It is here to stay. We're not getting rid of it. Okay. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to replace people.
No.
I think it's going to be used to support people. And so that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, is how can I utilize it to support people? For example, I have somebody full time that does insurance supplements. Okay. So they go in, the insurance company wrote the scope of work and they're missing 3 line items. Okay. And so what I've taught her to do is I want her to go use some AI tools to help her to explain to the adjuster why we need this. Okay. And that don't copy it word for word, but learn from it, because it's pulling from all these different sources and putting it in a concise language. Let's utilize that to help explain to them to do a better job at getting our customers the coverage that they should have. Okay. So that's one of the ways that we're using it. I am looking at some models right now. I'm working with, I'm in a group called Vistage, which is a national CEO coaching group. One of the guys in my group is an AI consultant. And so I'm working with him now on something that is going to take my data and overlay some weather patterns over it and see what we can do as from predictive modeling.
Cool.
Of
budgeting
that. And
I like
that'll
it.
help with budgeting. That will help me with areas. That will help me with centering on neighborhoods or on those kind of things. So that's where we're using it. At the end of the day, it's still people up there putting the shingles on, And I don't foresee that changing. I know there's robots coming out that are looking at doing those kind of things. I don't know that will get to a cost efficient area to be able to do for what we've got labor that can do it at. But so it's going to all be in the in-office kind of stuff. How can we schedule more efficiently? How can we communicate with customers more efficiently? How can we predict what customers are going to want? That's kind of where we're going with it.
Spot on, spot on. And
Yeah.
like you said, AI can do a lot of things. It can't replace humans, and it can't replace what humans can do, right? And a robot's not going to come in and fix my HVAC system or put a new roof on. Maybe not
Yep.
now, right?
Yep.
At least not right now. But it's exactly what you said. It's how can we find a balance of human and technology to make them more effective? Can we reduce the redundant, repetitive tasks that take up
Yep.
our time,
Yep.
automate and make us more efficient, and let us focus on high value type of work,
Exactly.
right? Yep.
Exactly. And so
Spot on.
what I have committed to all of my staff here as we start looking at AI stuff is that I've committed to them that I am not planning to use AI to replace your job. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, through attrition, if I have somebody leave, I may not replace that role if AI has made us more efficient than we can. But there will not be, hey, we've enjoyed your time here, but you know what? AI can do your job now. Go somewhere else. That's not going to happen. And so,
Right.
because I wanted them to be comfortable to be able to start using it. I
Spot
wanted them
on.
to, and again, so that we can then grow without having to add more people.
Perfect.
Yeah. Something I heard, and it kind of rang true to exactly what you're saying, Stacie, is AI won't replace your team, but it will replace those companies who are not using the technology, because it, like we've said, it's here to stay, and it's the next growth factor to every business.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. I think you're totally right on that.
It's funny. I was in a conversation the other day. The home services owner, he has 90 locations across the country, and he's like, "Hey, I don't even know where I want it. I know I can use it. Where do I even begin?" And I think that's the question, and I think that's where you've really been ahead of the curve here, starting to really understand where businesses can adopt. If we need to drive more traffic, AI can help with marketing and brand, and you know all that fun stuff, driving people to our site. If we need help with scheduling, automations, back office, accounting, like that's where we can really dive in. I think it just takes, like you said, it takes the willingness to accept that it's not going anywhere, get comfortable with it, start identifying low hanging fruit, and then kind of moving on from there. I love that. Love that approach.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, roofing, home services, it's a really cool perspective because you have a home, you have an HVAC plumbing business, you have a roofing business. Looking at the industry's future, the trades, if you were to predict what's going to separate the best companies in the trades versus the ones that, may fall behind.
Think the ones that adopt to, we've talked a lot about what customers are looking for. I think as the customer base gets more savvy with technology, we see a lot of people who have Googled what they want. Okay. And if we're not ahead of the curve of offering what they want, somebody else is going to. Okay. And so we talked about financing. We talked about all kind of different things. And if you don't have those options for people, somebody else is going to offer them. Okay.
Love it.
And so so yeah, I think that's kind of where it's at.
I love it. Yep. And
Yeah.
we are a needy consumer base nowadays. I blame Amazon and DoorDash and Netflix. I have everything I want. I live about 5 minutes from an Amazon fulfillment warehouse. I can
Oh,
get same day shipping like every day. It's spoiled me. I'm like, I don't ever want to go to the grocery store.
I
Right.
know.
So
And yeah.
and that's getting more and more prevalent, especially with this younger generation coming in, getting homes,
Yes.
right? Businesses really need, and it's scary, but we need to adapt to that type
Well,
of
yeah, and it's
behavior,
kind of
right?
like, there are people, now you can get quotes for roofs online.
Hmm.
We have that on our website. You can go and you can click and you can put your address in, and we're going to give you an estimate of what you think it's going to be. And at first when I think about it, I'm going, gosh, that's to me what I always tell people when they call and they go, how much is my roof going to cost? I go, that's like calling a car dealership and say, I want to buy a car.
Yep.
Well, do you want a 2-door? You want a 4-door? You want a minivan? Do you want to, I mean, there's so many things. Do you want anti-lock brakes? Do you want that? There's so many different components that you got to ask. But you know what? That's what people want. They want to know about how much it's going to cost. And so we've had to go through that and go, nope, then we're going to offer that. We got to get them, or we don't get them in that first step because somebody else is going to. So, yeah.
And now you have them, and then you can retarget, and you can continue to follow up. And that's what people and business owners are failing to understand. I think there's the customer journey and how you get business has grown, and it's gotten more complex, right? There's so many different ways to interact with you, so many ways to find you. We can't miss any of those steps in that journey, because then in every step, it allows us to collect information, allows us to use it to retarget or market or advertise. And I love that you're thinking that way. And I think it's spot on in the future. We have to adapt our offering, our brand, our experience to the changes in market, behavior, and technology.
Absolutely. And I think that's what it's always been. You have to change to what the customer wants, but the technology piece has moved so fast. I think unless you pick up the pace, that's who's going to be left behind.
Right. And the hard part is there's people that have been doing this for 20 years successfully. And now you have these kids coming out of college and buying an HVAC business or taking it over, and they're automating it, and they're blowing it up, right? And it's happening.
And you can sit and make the argument and whine and cry all day long of, well, they don't know this, they don't know that, they hadn't been here, you're right. But that doesn't matter.
Adapt or die, right?
Adapt or die is exactly right. Yeah.
Spot on. This has been fun. I'm curious. My last question for you, if you could go back, was it 2011 when you?
2011 is when I met my husband. Yeah, so it started really in the 2012 time period.
Okay, so you joined the roofing business. Now we have an HVAC business. Been a fun, amazing growth story. If you could go back to 2011, 2012, Stacie, this is what you need to know 15 years from now. This is going to really help you guys. What advice would you give yourself?
Build your culture really strong first, and protect it at all cost. I guess I've learned a hard lesson with that. I didn't protect it for a couple of years, and I brought some folks in that ran a lot of good people off, and they've since come back, but I wouldn't have had that hiccup during then. And so that's one of the things right now. I protect my culture at all cost, and then the rest of it just falls in place.
Love it. Even the end product, that's exactly right. The brand, and that you can just feel it with the brands that adopt that. I love it.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's like the In-N-Out versus McDonald's. You can feel it by how the employees treat you.
Yep.
Yeah.
This episode made me want to go get In-N-Out for dinner.
There you go.
Yeah. Or I should say Whataburger, because you're in Austin, Texas, but just teasing you. This has been phenomenal. I'm just going to kind of wrap up kind of some key points that I found is, again, what you just mentioned build a culture about the customer and build trust that helps your team and you really establish credibility and trust. Do not be afraid to partner with people in the trades, other businesses you need to be able to attack and find new customers in a variety of different ways. Get creative. Don't be afraid to grow or change and adapt with technology, with processes, with people. And then last, we are a business. We just happen to sell roofs. I think that is the best anecdote. That's the theme of this. I think every trades business needs to adopt that. We are a business. We're not a service. We need to grow like a business.
Yep.
Anything
absolutely.
I'm missing? Anything that you would kind of tie a bow on?
I don't think so. I think we covered most all of it. Yep.
I love it. Stacie, this has been a blast. I appreciate you coming on. We're excited to keep continuing watching Koala HVAC and Plumbing.
Hey, thanks for listening. Go ahead, like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to learn more about how AI can impact your home service business, visit NexTechAdvisors.com.